Welcome to Crazy Karen HOA. I did not raise my voice, I raised my receipts. Do not raise your voice at me. That was the first thing I said when Tracy Benson pointed at the charity donation pile outside the Harbor Point mailbox cluster and screamed that I stole the HOA storage padlock keys. She was standing 3 feet from me, red-faced, waving a plastic badge clipped to her rain jacket. I work as a union electrician in Albuquerque, and I had just gotten home from a long shift. I was not in the mood for this. Tracy jabbed her finger at the half-empty donation bin. She says someone took the keys from the clubhouse yesterday, and I am the only one who walked past the office during the window. She says she already reported this. That is her catchphrase. She says it every single time she wants you to know she has power. I tell her I have not been inside the clubhouse in 2 weeks. She does not care. She pulls out her phone and shows me a blurry screenshot of the key control log. She taps the screen with her fingernail. She says my name is right there. I lean in. The timestamp says Tuesday. Today is Thursday. I point that out. She pulls the phone back and says the log updates retroactively and I am not entitled to see the full report anyway. That was my trigger. I ask for a copy of the actual records. She says I am not entitled to see anything. She taps her badge. She says the communications lead does not have to share internal documents with residents under investigation. I ask what investigation. She says this one, and she is coordinating with management and the police. I feel my chest tighten. I ask if she filed a police report. She smiles and says she does not need to yet, but she can if I keep arguing. 2 neighbors walk past. One of them slows down and glances at us. Tracy does not lower her voice. She says I missed the deadline to dispute the key access report and now she is moving forward with enforcement. I ask what deadline. She says the notice was posted on my door last Friday. I tell her I did not get a notice. She shrugs. She says it was delivered and logged. She says if I refuse to cooperate she will have my car towed tonight as punishment. My car is parked in my assigned spot. I ask how she can tow a car in an assigned spot. She says the spot can be reassigned during an active investigation. She says she can do it today. I feel the stakes lock in. I have good insurance, but if a false police report sticks and I get tagged for theft, my rates are going to spike. I cannot afford that. I tell Tracy I will prove I did not take the keys. She laughs. She says she already has everything she needs. She taps her badge again and repeats her line. I have already reported this. I walk back to my townhome. My hands are shaking. I unlock the door and go straight to my Doorbell camera app. I scroll back to Tuesday. The camera covers my front porch and part of the walkway. I was at work all day Tuesday. The footage shows me leaving at 6 in the morning and coming home at 5:30 in the afternoon. There is no gap. I download the clip and save it to my phone. I also pull up my work logs. I clocked in at 7 and clocked out at 4. I was on a job site in the Northeast Heights all day. There is no way I was near the clubhouse. I text my buddy Marcus. He is the gate staff worker who covers weekday afternoons. I ask if he saw me near the clubhouse on Tuesday. He texts back in under a minute. He says no, and he says Tracy was in the office alone for about 20 minutes that afternoon. He says she had a key ring in her hand when she left. I screenshot the text. I do not know if it will help, but I save it anyway. The next morning I get a printed notice on my door. It is on Harbor Point letterhead. It says I failed to respond to the previous notice, and my gate access fob will be suspended effective today unless I provide a written statement and return the missing keys. The notice is dated yesterday. I check my doorbell footage. The notice was placed on my door at 6 in the morning. There was no previous notice. I checked my porch camera every day last week. Nothing. Tracy is moving the goalposts. She knows I cannot return keys I did not take, and now she is setting me up to lose access to my own home. I drive to the management office. It is a small building near the front gate. The receptionist is a woman named Carla. She has been here for 3 years and she is tired of the chaos. I know this because she has told me twice. I show her the notice. I tell her I did not get a first notice and I was not near the clubhouse on Tuesday. She sighs. She opens the resident portal on her computer. She clicks through a few screens. She says there is no record of a first notice being generated or delivered. She says Tracy submitted the second notice directly to the printer without filing the first one in the system. Carla leans back. She says Tracy has been doing this a lot lately. She says management is aware but they have not stepped in yet. I ask Carla if she can stop the fob suspension. She shakes her head. She says Tracy already flagged my account this morning and the system auto-locked me out at noon. She says I can appeal, but the appeal process takes 3 business days. I ask what I am supposed to do in the meantime. She says I can tailgate through the gate or ask a neighbor to let me in. She says she is sorry. She slides a blank appeal form across the desk. She tells me to fill it out, and she will expedite it as much as she can. I fill out the form. I attach a printed copy of my work logs and a screenshot of my doorbell footage timestamp. I hand it back to Carla. She says she will submit it today. I thank her. I ask if she knows where Tracy is. Carla says Tracy is usually in the clubhouse on Thursday mornings. I walk over. The clubhouse is a single-story building next to the pool. The front door is propped open. I walk in. Tracy is standing near the storage closet with a cardboard box in her arms. She sees me and sets the box down fast. She steps in front of it. She asks what I am doing here. I tell her I submitted an appeal and I want to know why she suspended my fob before I had a chance to respond. She smiles. She says I had a chance and I ignored it. I tell her there was no first notice. She says that is not her problem. She says she follows procedure, and if I have an issue I can take it up with management. I ask her about the key control log. I tell her I have proof I was not here on Tuesday. She cuts me off. She says she does not need to see my proof because she has already reported this. She taps her badge. She pulls out her phone and puts it on speaker. She dials a number. A man answers. She says it is Tracy Benson from Harbor Point, and she needs to confirm a tow authorization. The man asks for the vehicle information. Tracy rattles off my license plate number from memory. She says the vehicle is parked in a spot under investigation, and she needs it removed today. The man says he can send a truck in about an hour. Tracy thanks him and hangs up. She looks at me. She says I can avoid the tow if I return the keys and pay a $200 administrative fee right now. I stare at her. I tell her I do not have the keys. She shrugs. She says she can find me daily until I give up. That is her boomerang line. She says it with a straight face. She picks up the cardboard box and walks past me. I glance at the box. It is full of cleaning supplies and paper towels. The items still have price stickers on them. I do not say anything. I leave the clubhouse and go back to my car. I have an hour before the tow truck shows up. I call the tow company back. I use the number Tracy dialed. A different guy answers. I tell him my name and my plate number. I ask if there is a valid authorization on file for my vehicle. He puts me on hold. He comes back and says yes, the HOA communications lead called it in. I ask if he can send me a copy of the authorization. He says he cannot do that without management approval. I ask who approved the tow. He says Tracy Benson. I tell him Tracy is not a board officer and she does not have unilateral tow authority. He pauses. He says he will check with his supervisor. He puts me on hold again. 2 minutes later he comes back. He says his supervisor says the authorization stands because Tracy provided an HOA reference number. I ask what the reference number is. He says he is not allowed to share that. He says the truck is already on the way. I hang up. I text Marcus again. I ask if Tracy has unilateral tow authority. He texts back and says no. He says only the board president and the property manager can authorize non-emergency tows. He says Tracy has been claiming she has authority for months and no one has challenged her yet. I screenshot the text. I see the tow truck turning into the complex. I walk over to meet it. The driver gets out. He is a middle-aged guy with a clipboard. I tell him I am the owner of the vehicle. I ask to see the authorization. He flips through the clipboard. He pulls out a single sheet and shows it to me. It is a printed work order with my plate number, the spot number, and Tracy's signature. There is no board stamp. There is no property manager's signature. I point that out. The driver shrugs. He says his company does not verify HOA internal procedures. He says if the person who called has an account with them, that is good enough. I ask if I can take a picture of the authorization. He hesitates. He says his supervisor told him not to let residents copy the paperwork. I ask why. He does not answer. He walks around to hook up my car. I pull out a small flashlight from my jacket pocket. I shine it at the work order on his clipboard and take a photo with my phone. The driver tells me to stop. I ignore him. I get 3 clear shots. He says he is going to report this. I tell him to go ahead. He hooks up my car anyway. I watch him drive off. I call Carla. She answers on the second ring. I tell her what just happened. She says she will call the tow company and try to get the car released. She says it might take until tomorrow. I thank her. I ask if she can email me a copy of the HOA bylaws section on tow authority. She says she will send it in 10 minutes. I walk back to my townhome. I sit down at my kitchen table. I pull up the photos of the work order. I zoom in. The reference number Tracy gave the tow company is printed at the top. I open the Harbor Point resident portal on my laptop. I log in. I search for the reference number. It pulls up a case file. The case is titled Clubhouse Maintenance Request. It was opened 3 months ago by a different resident. It has nothing to do with me or stolen keys. Tracy used a random case number to make the tow look legitimate. I screenshot the case file. I text Marcus and ask if he can meet me at the management office in 20 minutes. He says yes. I print out everything I have so far. I put it in a clear sleeve binder. I grab a clear sleeve clipboard with a date box highlighted from my work bag. I use it for job site inspections. I clip the tow authorization photos to the front. I walk back to the management office. Carla is at her desk. Marcus is standing near the front counter. I lay out the binder and the clipboard. I show them the case number mismatch. Carla leans in. She opens her email and pulls up the bylaws. She reads the tow section out loud. It says non-emergency tows require written approval from the board president or the property manager. and the approval must include a board meeting reference or a violation case number that matches the vehicle owner. She looks at me. She says Tracy violated procedure. She says the tow company should not have accepted the work order. Marcus adds that Tracy was alone in the clubhouse storage closet on Tuesday afternoon and she left with a keyring. He says he saw her put the keys in her rain jacket pocket. Carla writes that down. She says she is going to email the property manager and the board president right now. She says she is also going to call the tow company and demand my car back without a release fee. She picks up her phone. She dials. A supervisor answers. Carla explains the situation. The supervisor says the tow was authorized by the HOA and they are not responsible for internal disputes. Carla says the authorization was fraudulent, and if they do not release the vehicle, she will file a complaint with the city. The supervisor puts her on hold. 3 minutes later, he comes back. He says they will release the vehicle, but the HOA account will be charged the full tow and storage fee. Carla says that is fine. She hangs up. She tells me I can pick up my car in 2 hours. I thank her. I ask if she thinks management will do anything about Tracy. Carla sighs. She says management has been slow to act because Tracy is loud and she has a small group of supporters on the neighborhood chat. She says the best thing I can do is keep documenting everything and make it impossible for them to ignore. She tells me to go pick up my car and then come back tomorrow. She says the property manager will be in the office in the morning and she will make sure he sees everything. I leave. I walk back to my townhome. My phone buzzes. It is a notification from the Harbor Point neighborhood chat. Tracy posted a message. I open the app. The message says there has been a theft in the community and anyone with information should contact her immediately. She says the suspect is uncooperative and she is working with management to resolve the issue. She does not name me, but 3 people reply asking who it is. One person says they heard it was someone in Building 12. That is my building. I take a screenshot. I do not reply. 2 hours later, I drive to the tow yard. I show my ID and my registration. The clerk processes the release. He does not charge me. He says the HOA account was billed. I thank him and leave. I drive back to Harbor Point. I park in my assigned spot. I check my doorbell camera. There is a new notice on my door. I walk over and grab it. It is another printed sheet. It says my fob suspension is under review and I should expect a decision within 3 business days. It also says I owe the HOA $200 for administrative costs related to the key investigation. The notice says payment is due by end of business tomorrow, or a lien process starts this week, unless I pay immediately. I go inside. I email Carla and attach a photo of the notice. I tell her I am not paying until I see proof of what the administrative costs are for. She emails back in 5 minutes. She says there are no administrative costs in the system. She says Tracy is invoicing me directly without board approval. She says that is not allowed. She says to ignore the notice, and she will handle it tomorrow. That night I cannot sleep. I keep replaying the last 2 days. Tracy is escalating fast. She already suspended my fob, towed my car, and threatened a lien. She is also posting about me in the neighborhood chat without using my name. I need to flip this before she does more damage. I pull out my phone. I scroll through my doorbell footage from the last month. I am looking for anything that shows Tracy near my porch. I find 3 clips. In the first clip, Tracy walks past my porch on a Tuesday morning 3 weeks ago. She is carrying a shopping bag. In the second clip, she is standing on my neighbor's porch 2 weeks ago. She is holding a small package. She looks around and then puts the package in her shopping bag. In the third clip, she is walking away from the mailbox cluster with 2 packages under her arm. Neither package has her address on it. I can see the labels. One is addressed to my neighbor in Unit 42. The other is addressed to someone in Unit 37. I sit up. I download all 3 clips. I make a new folder on my laptop and label it evidence. I add the clips, the work logs, the case number screenshots, the tow authorization photos, and the text from Marcus. I also add the notice photos showing the date discrepancies. I have enough to prove Tracy is lying about the keys, and I have footage that suggests she is stealing packages. I do not know if the package theft is related to the key accusation, but it gives me leverage. The next morning, I go to the management office. The property manager is there. His name is David. He is in his 50s, and he looks annoyed. Carla introduces me. David says he already reviewed my appeal, and he is lifting the fob suspension today. He says Tracy overstepped. He also says the $200 invoice is void. He tells me to ignore it. I thank him. I ask if he is going to address the false accusation. He hesitates. He says he needs to investigate further before taking action. I tell him I have evidence that Tracy used a fraudulent case number for the tow, and I have footage suggesting she is stealing packages. He sits up. He asks to see the footage. I open my laptop. I show him the 3 clips. He watches all of them twice. He leans back. He says this is serious. He says if Tracy is stealing packages, that is a criminal issue, and he has to report it. He asks if I reported it to the police yet. I tell him no. He says he will contact the board president today, and they will decide how to proceed. He tells me to keep the footage safe and not share it publicly yet. He says if I post it in the neighborhood chat, it could interfere with an investigation. I agree. I close my laptop. I ask if my fob will be reactivated today. He says yes. He tells Carla to process it now. She nods and types on her computer. 2 minutes later, my phone buzzes. My fob is active again. I leave the office. I feel a small win, but I know Tracy is not going to back down. I walk toward the mailbox cluster. Tracy is there. She is standing near the charity donation bin with her phone in her hand. She sees me and walks over. She says she heard I filed a complaint. I tell her I submitted an appeal. She says it is the same thing. She says I am wasting everyone's time. She pulls out a piece of paper from her jacket pocket. She unfolds it. It is a printed copy of the key control log. She holds it up in front of my face. She says my name is right there, and the timestamp matches the theft window. I look at the log. The date is wrong. It says Monday, not Tuesday. I point that out. She pulls the paper back. She says the system corrected itself. She says the theft happened on Monday. I tell her I have footage proving I was not here on Monday either. She smirks. She says my doorbell camera angle is illegal and I need to delete the footage. She says she is going to file a complaint with management about it. I tell her the camera only covers my porch and part of the walkway. I tell her it is not illegal. She says it does not matter because I need to comply with her directive or she will escalate. I ask what that means. She says she is going to suspend my fob again, and this time it will be permanent. She taps her badge. She says she has already reported this. She turns and walks away. I stand there. I pull out my phone. I text Marcus. I ask if there are any rules about doorbell camera angles. He texts back and says no. He says as long as the camera does not point into someone else's window, it is allowed. I screenshot the text. I spend the rest of the day working. I try to focus, but I keep checking my phone. At 3 in the afternoon, I get an email from David. He says he spoke with the board president. He says they are opening a formal investigation into the package theft allegations and the key accusation. He says Tracy has been placed on administrative leave from her communications lead role pending the outcome. He says I will be notified when the investigation is complete. He thanks me for bringing the evidence to his attention. I feel a surge of relief, but it does not last. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzes with another neighborhood chat notification. Tracy posted a new message. She says she is the victim of a targeted harassment campaign and someone is spreading false accusations about her. She says she has done nothing wrong and she is being forced to step back from her volunteer role because of malicious rumors. She says she will not be silenced. The post gets 5 supportive replies within minutes. One person says they always knew Tracy was dedicated. Another person says the HOA is too soft on troublemakers. I take a screenshot. I do not reply. That evening, I get a knock on my door. I check the doorbell camera. It is my neighbor from Unit 42. Her name is Jessica. I open the door. She asks if I have a minute. I say yes. She tells me she saw my car get towed yesterday and she wanted to check in. I tell her what happened. She listens. When I finish, she says Tracy took one of her packages 2 weeks ago. She says she has doorbell footage of it. She asks if I want to see it. I say yes. She pulls out her phone. She shows me the clip. It is the same moment I captured from my camera. Tracy is standing on Jessica's porch. She picks up the package and puts it in her shopping bag. Jessica says she thought it was a mistake at first, but then the package never showed up, and Tracy never mentioned it. She says she did not report it because she did not want to cause drama. I tell her about the investigation. She asks if she should give her footage to David. I tell her yes. She says she will email it tonight. The next day I get a call from David. He says he received footage from 3 other residents showing Tracy taking packages. He says the board president contacted the police and filed a report. He says an officer will be reaching out to me for a statement. He says Tracy has been permanently removed from her communications lead role and she is banned from accessing the clubhouse or any common areas without supervision. He says the investigation is ongoing. I thank him. I ask if the key accusation is closed. He says yes. He says the key control log was reviewed and it shows Tracy checked out the spare keys on Tuesday afternoon and never returned them. He says the keys were found in her car during a voluntary search yesterday. He says I am cleared. I hang up. I feel the weight lift. An hour later, I get a call from an Albuquerque Police Department officer. He introduces himself as Officer Ramirez. He says he is investigating a theft report filed by Harbor Point Residential Association. He asks if I can come to the station to give a statement. I say yes. He schedules me for tomorrow morning. I thank him and hang up. I spend the rest of the day organizing my evidence folder. I make copies of everything. I print a second set and put it in a separate binder. The next morning, I drive to the police station. Officer Ramirez meets me in the lobby. He takes me to a small interview room. He asks me to walk him through the timeline. I lay out the binder. I show him the doorbell footage, the work logs, the case number screenshots, the tow authorization photos, and the text from Marcus. I also show him the 3 clips of Tracy taking packages. He takes notes. He asks if I can email him the files. I say yes. He gives me his card. He says the case is being forwarded to the district attorney for review. He says I might be called as a witness if charges are filed. I ask what charges. He says theft and possibly fraud related to the tow authorization. He says it depends on what the DA decides. I thank him. I leave the station. If you are enjoying this story, hit the like button and subscribe for more HOA drama. I drive back to Harbor Point. I park and walk to the management office. Carla waves me over. She says the board president wants to meet with me. She says he is in the conference room. I follow her. The board president is a man in his 60s named Robert. He shakes my hand. He thanks me for bringing the evidence forward. He says the board is taking this very seriously. He says they are implementing new access control rules after the key mess is exposed. He says all storage access will require a 2-person checkout and all tow authorizations will require board president or property manager signature with a verified case number. He says the new rules will be in the next newsletter. He also says the board voted to remove Tracy from the neighborhood chat moderator role. He says she will no longer have admin access. He asks if I have any other concerns. I tell him no. He thanks me again. I leave the conference room. 2 weeks later, I get an email from Officer Ramirez. He says the DA filed charges against Tracy for theft and fraudulent use of identifying information related to the fake case number. He says a court date is scheduled for next month. He says I do not need to appear unless I am subpoenaed. He thanks me for my cooperation. I forward the email to David. He replies and says the board is aware. He says Tracy moved out of Harbor Point last week. He says her unit is listed for sale. I walk to the mailbox cluster that afternoon. A small group of neighbors is standing near the charity donation bin. One of them is Jessica. She waves me over. She says she heard Tracy moved out. She asks if I knew. I say yes. Another neighbor asks what happened. I tell them about the investigation and the charges. Jessica pulls out her phone. She says she kept her doorbell footage. She says she is going to post it in the neighborhood chat so everyone knows what really happened. I tell her to wait. I say the case is still open, and posting footage could cause problems. She hesitates. She says she just wants people to know the truth. I tell her the truth will come out when the case is done. She agrees. She puts her phone away. One of the other neighbors asks if the HOA is going to do anything to prevent this from happening again. I tell them about the new access control rules. Another neighbor says it is about time. Someone else says they never trusted Tracy. Jessica says she always thought Tracy was too aggressive. The group talks for a few more minutes. I stay quiet. I do not need to say anything. The story is out there now, and Tracy is gone. A month later, I get a notification from the neighborhood chat. The board president posted an update. It says the theft investigation is closed. It says criminal charges were filed and the HOA is cooperating with law enforcement. It says new policies are in effect and residents should report any suspicious activity to management immediately. It does not name Tracy, but everyone knows. The post gets 20 replies. Most of them are supportive. A few people say they had packages go missing over the last year. One person says they are glad the board took action. I close the app. I walk back to my townhome. I check my doorbell camera. There are no new notices on my door. My fob works. My car is in my assigned spot. Everything is normal again. I sit down at my kitchen table. I open my laptop. I pull up the evidence folder one last time. I look at the files, the doorbell clips, the case number screenshots, the tow photos, the clear sleeve clipboard with the highlighted date box, the small flashlight shot of the work order. I saved everything. I kept it organized. I stayed calm. I followed the process. And it worked. Tracy thought she could frame me and bury the truth with procedural theater and loud accusations. She thought no one would check her work. She thought her badge and her catchphrase would be enough. She was wrong. When she tried to suspend my fob, I documented it. When she called the tow truck, I confronted the driver and photographed the authorization. When she posted in the neighborhood chat, I took screenshots. When she changed the date on the key log, I caught it. When she tried to intimidate Jessica, I gathered more footage. And when she tried to bait me into yelling so she could clip it out of context, I stayed calm and let her dig her own hole. The funny part is Tracy boasted about documentation and her notes were blank. When the board president asked her for records during the investigation, she handed over a folder. Carla told me later that half the pages were blank and the other half were copies of old newsletters with no case notes. Tracy spent months acting like she had everything under control, but she did not have anything. She was making it up as she went. And when someone finally called her bluff, the whole thing collapsed. The payoff came in stages. First, a police report request that made the story official and stopped the rumor mill. Then, the board voted to remove Tracy from the neighborhood chat moderator role. Then, the HOA was forced to update access control rules after the key mess was exposed. Then, criminal charges. Then, Tracy moving out. Each step felt like another layer of vindication. But the best moment was not any of those. The best moment was standing in the management office conference room with Carla and David and holding up two versions of the same key control log and watching them realize Tracy had been printing fake documents the entire time. That was when the crowd saw the contradiction. That was when it was over. I close my laptop. I lean back. I think about what I would tell someone else in this situation. I would say, keep your receipts. I would say, stay calm. I would say, do not let them bait you. I would say, document everything, even the small stuff. I would say, find your allies and protect them. I would say, follow the process. Because the process is the only thing that protects you when someone with a badge and a loud voice tries to steamroll you. And I would say, do not stop until you clear your name. Because once the lie is out there, it does not go away on its own. You have to kill it with proof. Tracy is gone now. The neighborhood is quieter. The new access control rules are working. People are checking their doorbell footage more often. The board is paying attention. And I still have my evidence folder just in case. I do not think I will need it again. But I am not deleting it. You never know when the next Tracy will show up with a plastic badge and a catchphrase and a plan to make your life hell. And when that happens, I will be ready. Thanks for watching. And I appreciate you being here.